Hi, you guys. Hi, Joe. Can you hear me okay? Let me see. Okay, I think it's just you and I for right now. Where's the chat? Jill, can you hear me? Okay. Why is that caps? Oh, I think I hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh my gosh, I thought I could hook this up to my car and listen while I drive, but I don't think I can.
No, that's okay. I'm actually gonna take this second to try to get this a little clearer. Oh, that's somewhat better.
Oh my gosh. No video.
I'm going to, don't worry, I'm gonna hook you up. Hold on. I'm going to take gallery view, just put it on speaker view. Okay, you still there?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay. Show. Hold on, I'm trying to get a handle on my things. You know me, I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to, okay, let's do exit full screen. Could that perhaps help me? You know why everyone's late? Because I'm always late.
You were
This,
on time this time, surprise.
I know, it's the first time. And it literally is. And you have, and the funniest thing is, it's been the craziest day ever. So the fact that I'm on time today, I can't even tell you how insane that is. I'm just really looking around here. I'm trying to get the I'm trying to fix the settings so that you guys don't need to worry about being on screen. Settings. Oh, good. General. Video. HD. Video. Turn off. Okay. Hide. Turn off my video when joining. Always show. God, you know, I really wish I had a fairy to just do all this stuff. HD webcam. Okay, but where are the people? Okay, when closed, always show. I want people to chill out and not to worry. Hide non-video participants. No. Recording. Choose a location. I already did that. Share individual. Oh my God. Sorry. I don't know how to do what I want to do. Hey, Pearl. Hi. Hi. Sorry, Pearl.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Good.
I'm trying to make it so that you guys don't need to worry about being on screen. Because I know a lot of times people don't like that very much. And of course, I'm on time, but I don't know how to do that.
But we can just take our videos off from our
Yeah,
end.
you guys don't want to be, that's
We don't want
a
to.
very good point. Thank you for that, everyone publicly. Okay, so that's a great point. I'm not going to worry about it anymore then, because I don't really know what to do anyway. So we're just going to go with it. All right. I got my water and I got my tissues. This is a really great class. I'm really excited about this. And this is going to be a combination of how to channel, but also how to channel insofar as I feel stuck. I feel like I'm not getting somewhere with something, or I need better help. I need greater clarity, etc. And channeling is going to be one of the ways that we go over how to get more help, more clarity, and more guidance. Okay. You guys would be super proud of me. I literally, I took notes. I have the whole class right here. So I never do that. So, all right, we're going to start with this. I forget who brought up the subject of being stuck, but I just feel like it's very resonant, because each one of us, like, I'm talking myself included, I don't know anybody who is on this journey who does not find themselves frustrated at some point about something. With me, for example, I could use the example of my pain. It's been years, and I've got lots of things I do to try to help myself, medicine included. But we all have something somewhere in our life, whether it's a relationship or a circumstance or something, like I said, like a pain or some other condition. We all have got something that's been around for years, usually years, no matter what kind of a thing it is, whether it's I've hated my job for 5 years, or I've had this neck pain on and off since 2004. Something like that. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to say that about my pain to first comfort anybody who is watching this, to say, you're not alone. I've been on this path since I was born, really, but for the last 20 years, I have been training with different teachers. I've been going on every kind of retreat and everything for the last 20 to 21 years. And I've had this same pain since 2004, on and off. The first step to looking at yourself to see, okay, what's going on here? Why am I stuck? Or why am I frustrated? What's going on? What is this? The first step is what I mentioned in the video earlier today. And that is, at the most basic level, to think of it in terms of yin and yang. You guys know how simple that is. Masculine, feminine, fire, water, doing, receiving, the suit of wands, the suit of cups, right? The sun and the moon. The first thing I want you to do is simply observe. Recently, have you been overdoing which? You could also say, have you been underdoing something? But for me, overdoing seems to be easier to identify because that's my tendency. I'm super big into overdoing things. So you guys, this might sound really simple. Oh, okay, yin or yang, what am I overdoing? But it's not. And I had to take a look at myself, for example. My guides were telling me over and over for the last several years, I've been engaged in, what was that? Oh, there goes my tape recorder. Okay, sorry, I didn't know what that was. But with my health for the last, really since 2014, my health has been of primary concern. And since 2014, my guides have been telling me in all sorts of different ways that I'm overdoing it. Stop trying so hard. You know, messages like that. Sandy, hello. Oh, Sandy is trying to join us. Yeah, she hasn't quite gotten on here yet. But I'm talking for years. My guides, hi Sandy, I'm happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. I was just saying, Sandy, that usually all of us have something that's been going on for years that we all have struggled with. And I was talking about my pain. And I was saying that my guides have been saying to me for years, you're overdoing it. You're overdoing it. And guys, you know, I've been so ill since like 2014. I've spent most of my life on the couch since 2014. A lot of my life has been on the couch. So I have not understood what the hell they were saying. Like, why do you guys keep telling me I'm overdoing it? I'm trying too hard. Like, look at me. I've spent the last 6 years either like on a walker or not able to walk or in bed for a whole, I've spent the last 6 years trying not to die. How can I be overdoing something when my entire life has happened here and on the couch? And it wasn't until after last February when I had my second round of near-death experiences that finally Source showed me the image that made sense. And I'm going to share this with you. So in terms of me overdoing it, Source showed me an image. And again, this was last February when my parents and I thought I was going to die again. This is when I was not working all of last year. And God had given me this deadline, that he was going, he's like, give me 2 months. And I know that God doesn't need 2 months. I knew that it had to do with my receptivity. But at the end of this period, I was saved. I mean, it completely happened. He pulled a Tyrannosaurus Rex rabbit out of my ass and saved me. And he showed me the image. And this goes for each one of you. He showed me an image of being in a car that was so crumpled, it required the jaws of life so that I could be cut out of it. So then I had a big, long channeling with Source around this image. And that is the image that explains how somebody like me, who for that year, I really had barely left my bed, how could I be overdoing something while bedridden? And I've been getting that message for years. And that's why. It wasn't physical. Obviously, I've been so incapacitated for so many years. I've barely done anything physical for many years. But in here, I was thinking so obsessively about my health and fearing so obsessively. What if I die? What if I don't make it this time? What if? Source was showing me that me and you, all of us here, we are so powerful that we can mentally be overdoing something. I was yawning myself to death. That is word for word what my guides have told me. I was yawning myself to death. But if you were a fly on the wall, you would see someone who had been bedridden for a year and for the last 6 years had been gravely ill. But I was still mentally yawning myself to death. And Source was explaining in this communication that we are such powerful co-creators, that we are gods. We are a part of Source. There's no difference. When we take hold of anything, mentally or physically, with our heart and our mind, we are so powerful that it can have the effect as if we are saying, hands off, everybody, I've got this. So that's why I want to explain the first thing to check, how am I on that pendulum of yin and yang? It's not as obvious as you think it may be. We are so powerful that if we have taken hold of something, if we are in fear, or if we are in any kind of obsession, if we are mentally cycling about anything, that subject is akin to us being in a rumpled car that requires the jaws of life to be cut out of it. Because if we've taken hold of anything in that manner, all of our guides, Source itself, and our higher selves are going to respect that and allow us to go down that path. So that's how somebody like me was yawning myself to death for 6 years, not understanding for 6 years. How can I be overdoing anything I can't walk? So that's the first step. If anyone is feeling frustrated, have you been too much in your yang, in your action, in your fire, in your doing, even if it's mental? Or have you been too much in your yin, in your receptivity, in your non-action, in your emotions? That's the first place to start. It's so elementary, but it's not that simple. And my guides are laughing now, and your guides are all around me, and they're doing that campfire thing again that they always like to do. And they're saying there's no one better at overcomplicating anything than this bunch of women here. And they're saying it lovingly, obviously, but they mean it for they mean that for all of us women who are sensitive and psychic and all of that, because we, as empaths and psychics, because we field so much information, you know, we can listen to two people talking and there could be like a transcript of that, but any one of us could add like 5 volumes more of truth about, you know, what's really going on there. And that's such a beautiful thing. But it's also so frequently something that leads to our unnecessary suffering. We overcomplicate things without realizing it because we are so aware and because we are getting so much information. And the idea of letting that go, and this is in my notes, they want us to take the idea of triage. And if you don't know what that word means, it's like when you go into the ER, if I came in with a nosebleed and then somebody came in after me with a broken leg, the person with the broken leg is going to be seen before I am, because a broken leg is far more serious than a nosebleed. That's triaging. They really want us to surrender. We do so much more heavy lifting than we need to. Source and our higher selves, and then what I call our spiritual friends and family, those are the guides that are around us all the time, right? The ones that aren't a part of our makeup, but our running buddies, if you will, like Wayne Dyer or Lao Tzu. You know, we have all those friends of ours that are around us all the time. And then we've got our higher selves all the way up to source. And all of our higher selves, which are very overlapping, are saying, if you would only allow us to triage, it would free you up to play. Let us triage so you can frolic and love and be loved and create. And that's a really beautiful message. So I have 2 post-it notes they wanted me to tell you about that have to do with this. One I have in my kitchen, and it says GT, and that stands for God Triage. The other post-it note they want me to tell you about is in the middle of my clairvoyant mirror that I meditate with. And this for me has been so imperative. It leads to what we've all been talking about, or what I've been talking about this whole time, which is in the middle of my mirror, I've got a Sharpie stick-it note that says FFO. And that stands for forget figuring it out. So God Triage, GT, and FFO, forget figuring it out. Because it's already been figured out. You and I, in our true forms, We've already done the team huddle, and we've already designed this entire life. So when Wayne Dyer says that quote that I love, he actually has another quote he wants me to say too, but this is very Taoist in nature. And I think it is from Wayne and not from the Tao, but it's Taoist. And it is, the quote is, like a baby in the womb, we are being done. To take that image of a baby in the womb, the baby doesn't have to do anything. It's you know, the placenta is pumping, I don't know, the mom is eating, like the baby in there, the baby doesn't have to do anything. It's being baked by forces greater than itself, right? And that is the same with each one of us. We've already laid these designs. There's nothing to do but be done. So let's try to continually surrender, continually allow our guides and our higher selves and source to triage for us. We've already done all the hard stuff. We've already done all of that. And if it helps, I've shared this before in class, but I've made a pact with my guides, these guides. We have a pact where they know my priority is to carry out Source's wishes. And that my spiritual friends and family, I've asked them, and we have a pact. Literally, I've been like, can we all understand this is our North Star? And they know that their North Star in dealing with me is help me not miss any source breadcrumbs. That's it. I don't have to figure anything out. I am a foot soldier for source itself. And my guides and I as a team, our number one mission per my request is please let's all of us together help me to make sure I don't miss a source breadcrumb, if that makes sense. The other quote Wayne wanted me to share with you today for this class, this is another technique for feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or frustrated. And it's, again, deceivingly simple. But the quote he wants me to share is, it's not his quote. He wants me to clarify that, which is funny because usually he's always wanting, he loves taking credit for anything good. But the quote that he uses with me all of the time, because I'm a major overthinker, blah, blah. He always says this to me. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. This is another technique. If there is a subject that you are overwhelmed or frustrated or plateaued about, how can you break it down into smaller and smaller amounts? I've gone through periods of depression that have been so dark. I remember being at my desk job. I've always been a writer. You know, my job has always been a writer. And I remember being so depressed at one point, I kind of came to, because I was wearing a buttoned up collared shirt, and I felt the drool hit my chest. And I had been sitting there, at my desk, like just in such a depression, so zoned out that like I literally had just drooled onto myself, and feeling that saliva hit my skin right here, I kind of came to. So I've had a number of periods of depression where I felt like I didn't want to be here anymore. Like, this is too much, it's too hard, I'm tapping out. And you guys also know I've spoken about this. I'm also sober. I got sober 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago. That's when I started studying aggressively meditation and started getting teachers when I got sober. Because the tricky thing about getting sober, if you're like me, is that when you stop using drugs and alcohol, that's when you go most crazy, because you don't have your best friend, you don't have your drugs, you don't have your alcohol to keep you company. That's when you stop using, that's when I was more suicidal than I'd ever been, which may seem counterintuitive. But if there's one thing that we can take away from this class, it is to every moment of the day remind ourselves it's not Susan versus anything. It's not Jill versus the office. It's not Sandy versus her family. It's not Pearl versus Pearl's own thinking. Each one of us is a part of the most glorious and perfectly tailored team that you could ever imagine. And right now, Billie Holiday and Maya Angelou are coming in with two of their favorite messages. So Billie Holiday is coming in to add a third technique, if you will. And it's not so much a technique as it is I don't know how she's putting this. I don't know how to put it in words. She's basically saying, I'm overcomplicating it by calling it a technique. Hi, Morgan. But Billie's saying, and she's picking up on how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, breaking things down to its smallest component, being in such a depression, feeling so helpless or powerless. Break it down smaller and smaller and smaller. Take that next step and break it into two. Keep breaking it down, and as you do, and as you say, I give it to you, God. This is Billie Holiday. I give it to you, God. This is your job. and peanut gallery in my mind, my should committee, you are hereby fired, put on notice, need it no more, bye-bye. You continually say, I give it to you, God, and you continually fire your should committee as many times a day as you have to. And you each know exactly what I'm talking about. That chorus of voices that plays devil's advocate each and every moment of the day. No one needs that Greek choir. Fire them now, fire them permanently, fire them all throughout the day. Every time you thank God, refire your should committee. That's Billie Holiday. Thank you. And my Angelou is coming in as she does often when I talk about each one of us being a part of the most amazing multidimensional cosmic team, right? It's never us versus anything. If we find ourselves in that position, we have stumbled into illusion. Which is quite human and happens quite often. And it's not a problem. With practice, this is my Angelou. With practice, with continual observation, you will come to sense when you are in illusion. And my whole point to you today is one I have already made. If you could clairvoyantly see your teams, the tears would be streaming. Your teams have been with you far longer than Earth has been orbiting. Your teams stretch throughout the multiverse, and like you, they are continually changing as you evolve. So too does your fleet of helpers. So in moments of stress or overwhelm, just take 2 fingers, take them, press them to your heart, and simply remember your place as a small part of a staggeringly beautiful celestial team. That should help bring you peace and ease. That was my Angelou. Thank you. She loves us. Can you feel that? Like, I mean, I've got like my scalp's tingling. That's my Angelou. And now Isis is coming in to say the answers and the clarity that you seek, it's always transmitting. It is simply a matter of your awareness and your frequency. If you are not fielding the quality of clarity you desire, you must adjust yourself from within. There is nothing wrong with the cosmic apparatus, but there are adjustments for you to make from the inside out that will better attune you to the incoming grace and clarity that you desire. My beloved ones, it is always, always a matter of fine-tuning from the inside out, of adjusting
For me. Will you get my
huh? Oh, sorry. Okay, that was Morgan. Morgan, turn off your mic. She's saying
mic was on.
it's always a matter of adjusting your emotional sails. So Isis is actually saying that if we're feeling blocked from clarity or inspiration or whatever it is, she's actually coming forward to say there are adjustments emotionally to be made, that our emotional bodies need to be tweaked so that they do not interfere as we would perceive, so that they do not interfere with all that is constantly transmitting. So that's really interesting. That was not in my notes. None of this has been. And then I want to move on to channeling, because I know everyone wanted to learn about that too. And then we'll do questions. Channeling your higher self, channeling source itself, or channeling any one of your spiritual friends or family. You can channel anything or anyone, and that is because we are all one. There is one compound in all the multiverse, and it goes by a bazillion names, but that compound is God. This is a little bit of congealed God. This, same thing, same thing, same thing. It's all God. Capital A, all. And that truth is what enables us to tap into and translate and communicate with the energy of anybody or anything. For example, I've told Morgan this. Recently, I've been working with the higher self of Eckhart Tolle, because obviously I don't have his phone number, and there's no way for me to knock on Eckhart Tolle's door and get help, but he has some really interesting stuff about living with pain that I've been trying to experiment with and embody. And so because I can't work with Eckhart Tolle, I work with this higher self. I often channel the higher selves of my children. And the one thing for all of you to know, I don't know, this might be Isis still. Isis and Archangel Michael. And actually a whole bunch of other human beings that we know, that have the human beings who have been in this meeting before. The moment you think of another being, whether that's an archangel, a passed away relative, or somebody alive on the earth today, your thoughts are vehicles. And it's instant. Earth is an unusual playground where everything is compressed and flattened and stretched. When you're in spirit, it's instant. So you can communicate with entire collectives, like the collective of earth trees or of hawks. Or you can communicate with your passed away dog. There are no limits. And I'm going to share with you a couple of things that my son Wesley just shared with me. And he's so excited that I'm telling you guys this in class. Wesley is my one son who does all that incredible artwork. You guys know him. Both of my kids are crazy psychic, but Wesley is an unusual person. I've never seen an aura like his. You guys know. I mean, I don't know what he is. I don't even know how to describe him. But Wesley channeled for the first time ever just a couple days ago. And he was so excited. And he wanted me to film a video about it right then and there to show you guys, to tell you guys how he did it. This actually happened the day after St. Patrick's Day. And then I get to tell him, I mean, the synchronicity here is like heartbreakingly beautiful. To then have you guys request for class, I want channeling. And my son has been asking for days, can you please make a video so I can teach them what happened? It's like kind of just crazy. And so he wanted me to tell you these exact things because I explained, people want to know how to channel, and it's not something that, you know, comes naturally at first to everyone. So he did not mean to channel. But the day after St. Patrick's Day, and this is what he wanted to share with you, he had no choice. All of a sudden, we were in the car together. And this is what he said. he hadn't been thinking about this at all. But all of a sudden, he had no choice. And he started telling me this message from the Leprechaun Collective. He said when he received this message, he felt different. So he hadn't been thinking about this topic at all. That's one extremely relevant clue. If anyone's wondering, did I channel that or not? So he said that, and like, I mean, it's just amazing because that is absolutely one of the biggest keys to knowing this was not from me. You know, I was just doing the dishes. Then all of a sudden, this came to me. So he was just in the car, we were just talking, and then all of a sudden, he had no choice. And he said he felt different, and I asked him how. And again, he's 10 years old. He's 10 years old, and he does have you know, a variety of what you would call special needs. But listen to how eloquently he put this. I mean, it's amazing. So I said, so how do you mean you felt different, Wesley? And he said he felt like he was getting electricity and he felt empowered. I've never heard him use that word before, empowered. Those are his words. I felt like I was getting electricity and I felt empowered. And again, the first thing he said, the first thing was he hadn't been thinking about that at all. And then he had no choice and he had to tell me, Mom, the leprechauns say, and then he gave me their message, and it was, and I'm going to add this to it. The message was beautiful, and it was brief, and it was one of love. Because he and I feel very strongly about loving and caring for all of the beings in the elemental collective. And we both kind of take offense to how leprechauns get kind of profiled sometimes as being mischievous, like in a bad way. You know, we always stick up for them, and we always, whenever it's St. Patrick's Day, we always leave things out for them, and we say thanks and all that stuff. And anyway, so all of a sudden, Wesley had this brief, love-filled message from, he wouldn't say collective, but from the leprechauns to me, which in short was, thank you, we love you, and then something about time, which I'm not totally sure about what that meant, but I do know that briefly thereafter, all of a sudden, I did notice it was 4:44. So when you're channeling and you're wondering, am I channeling? What Wesley laid out is so beautiful and such a clear portrait. And that's coming from me who at this point, channeling is like breathing. And it can be for any one of you too, as easy as breathing. But I'll just go over it again. He hadn't been thinking about that subject. Then all of a sudden, he had no choice. That's what he was thinking about. He had no choice. And the message coming in was simple and brief and 200% love. Those are all steadfast indicators of channeling. There are more indicators as you get more adept at channeling. For example, I used to always do the school plays all the way through college. And I've noticed that, I think the first time I noticed this was when I was doing a session for a friend, a very good friend at the time. And I noticed that I was speaking differently. And my body even was kind of, and I was like, I had thought, like, what are you doing, Susan? And then I realized I'd been doing this session with my friend, and Pearl, you'll relate to this kind of, because Pearl and I have done work together where I've channeled her mom. But a couple of years ago, I was doing this with my friend. And I realized, oh my God, this is your mom. Like, I could tell a being had taken over our session, but that happens often. Oftentimes somebody's angel, or, you know, somebody like a Wayne Dyer, oftentimes somebody steps forward, you know, on behalf of a client or something. So that had happened, and I hadn't given it much thought until I noticed I was speaking differently and moving a little differently. And I was like, what is that? What's going on? I was like, oh my gosh, Courtney, this is your mom. This is your mom. And that you're going to notice that different energies feel different. Maybe they use different words, or you'll feel it in your body, or you'll see something. But this is why I always say you don't ever need to worry about names. To effectively channel, the one thing that's needed is simply an awareness of that energy. What does it feel like? What is that frequency? With your senses, with your easiest senses, what can you take from it? What kind of color does it feel like? What kind of song would it be like? Would it be a rock and roll song? Like, one time I was with a client and I knew this was an archangel, but he was leaning up against my Sesame Street wall smoking. And I was like, oh my God, who are you? I'm obsessed. I was like obsessed. I was like, I love you, whoever you are. I'm like, you're an archangel who is like, he just was like a James Dean archangel. And I was like, who are you? And he showed me his winged feet. I was like, oh my God. So that was Hermes or Mercury or Toth, you know, and that was his personality. He was showing me. He like he'll drop F-bombs with me, and like he's very he's like a funny James Dean, you know, and that's what I'm saying. I'm like, so I saw that, you know, because you guys know I'm clairvoyant. I've always been, clairvoyance is my first primary thing. I've had it since I was born. But maybe you guys are clairsentient most of all. So you get a sensation. Oh, well, this energy, I like for example, when Archangel Michael's helping me, this area, it's like there might as well be a map on my body that says Archangel Michael's helping you right now. And when it's Archangel Cassiel is right here. And when it's Mother Teresa, it feels like somebody's taking a straight pin, which is so funny, and she just pokes me in the forearm. That's Mother Teresa. Or one of my newest friends is my left brain. Because you guys can channel any part of yourself as if it's a teacher separate from yourself. And so I've gotten to know and been making friends with my left brain most recently. And when my left brain wants to kick in, I call it a doorbell. Like different beings have different doorbells. And when my left brain is kicking in, it literally feels like you could draw with a ruler down my skull, and my left brain is like Prickle City, like this whole thing. That's all I've got. And now I'm ready for you guys, for questions, for thoughts, anything. You can unmute yourself, whatever you'd like to do. But that's the material I wanted to give. So I'm ready now for whatever it is might be on your mind. Does anyone want to ask me anything, or have anything they want to share, any experiences, anything like that? And obviously this is no pressure, but I'm here for you guys and I would love to help in any way. Just let me know.
I make a comment. What you say really helped me. I figuring out which one of the yin or yang.
Mm-hmm.
And only when you spoke about it, I realized that as you say, yang in with my mind and all that, but there's a lot of control in there. Like I don't want to give up control. So that came to my awareness. And,
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne Dyer is calling that the hole in the donut syndrome.
Mm.
He's saying it's very common because if you do what Susan described, if we really do continually remind ourselves to take our hands off the wheel and be done like a baby in the womb, our human personalities or egos, ego and personality are the same thing to me. it's natural for our personalities to feel threatened. Well, then who's gonna take care of me? Like if I keep surrendering, you know, and if I tell my mind when I catch myself, like, Susan, you're overstepping. Like, you know how businesses have org charts where it's like the CEO's on top, and then it branches down and it's like the COO and the chief financial officer, and it's like these flow charts of an office. What we're being asked to do is allow Source to really be the CEO. And when you think about worrying or our inner dialogue, our inner dialogue is constantly trying to wrest control back again. So the fact that you were able to even identify what you just said, Pearl, is huge. Because until you can see it, you are just blindly in it. So Wayne Dyer's saying, you have achieved a new degree of objectivity, or you would not be able to see what you just said. So he's saying, well done, and to keep it up. And he's saying, pick an image that makes it easiest for you. Like, for example, you could think of your inner dialogue as, I do, the way I do it is as weather. That I'm the sky, eternal Susan, not Susan Dyer, but that eternal me is the sky, and my thoughts are the clouds and the weather fronts passing by. So you could think of it like that. Or some people, I've heard some people compare their thinking to observing like a radio station. Like I'm noticing my inner dialogue, and I'm treating it as if I'm listening to a radio station. Whatever image makes sense to you, that helps you get more and more separate from your thinking. Try to settle on one, because it's easier to practice when you're like, you've got that one, and I'm going to practice with it. I've had really good changes with the concept of the sky and the clouds and weather fronts. That's really helped me so much. Especially because, and he's telling me to tell you this, especially because we feel things so extraordinarily. You know, it's like, as empaths, like, God, we feel like everything at level 10. And I've taken great comfort in this metaphor because, as you guys know, like, even after the most ferocious hurricane, the sky is not scarred, you know, like, and so to me, I do feel things so deeply. And when I have been in depressions, or when I have been afraid for my life, and it feels paralyzingly overwhelming, the metaphor of being the sky has been really powerful because of that. I always think the weather could seem so severe, it could blow a car over. But at some point, that same patch of sky will be clear and blue and dry. So borrow that if you like.
Thank you.
But he is suggesting, Wayne's suggesting, to choose one metaphor because it just makes it easier.
To build on it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That
Yeah,
helps.
he's saying that was great. He's saying, good job, Pearl. Good job.
Thank you.
And he's saying, thank God we aren't our thoughts, right, ladies?
Oh gosh.
I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Because I'd be like in a mental hospital like 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where Billie Holiday comes in again with the should committee. It's like, I used to have fantasies about like beheading myself. Like if I could just cut my head off and like carry it like that guy from Sleepy Hollow, like I could have some semblance of peace because this, you know what I'm saying? But we haven't really figured that one out yet. So I have to go this avenue instead, which is always fostering space between you and your thinking. That's what we're trying to do here. What about you guys? Anyone else have any? Oh yeah.
Hi. Okay. Yeah, I love that about the should committee and firing them because that's awesome. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about was channeling, and when sometimes I guess it's like your son described, like you have no choice. It just comes in loud and clear, like some brief thing when I don't know, like in the convenience store or, doing something random. And that comes in, like, I hear it in like my third ear or whatever you call that. And
I've never
then
heard that. That's the best phrase I've ever heard. My third ear. Oh my God, why hasn't that been like made a phrase? Oh my God, Jill, I'm obsessed with that. My third ear. That's the freaking best thing I've ever heard. It's
yeah,
freaking crazy funny. Oh my God, my third ear. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm so obsessed with that. And I'm literally actually going to write that down right now because I'm so obsessed with that. That is the best thing I've ever heard. I'm totally interrupting you. I cannot help it. I'm so obsessed. So yes, you're saying sometimes that you might hear it.
right. And that's contrasted with other times, like when I feel like I'm intentionally trying to connect with something, be it like my higher self or, something else. That's more like I don't hear it. It's like the image that I see when I think about how that is, it's more like words bubbling up to a surface and then appearing so that I can, appreciate what they say. So it's more like work, like pulling it as opposed to no control over it. So I don't know, that's just two different things that all of a sudden I realized like they're totally different.
They're totally the same. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what I was.
There are as many ways to channel as there are humans on the earth. And that's why I said, like, with some beings like Mother Teresa always sticks me with a straight pin versus you know, like some beings, they have a doorbell and that it's physical. Some beings, like the first time I was sitting here, Joan of Arc's head just, remember I was like, okay, just her head, just over there's Joan of Arc's head. As many different forms of energy as there are, that's as many avenues in that there are. There are infinite ways to field and communicate with energy. And what I could tell you that will be most helpful, this is from Wayne. You're desiring very humanly a bit more organization or clarity. And the image he's showing me is in a drawer that you have silverware. I have like this drawer, and there's these things you put in a silverware drawer that you can put in the drawer, and then just like forks go in here and the spoons go in there and the knives go in there. And he's saying that's what you're wanting. And honestly, he's saying it's very human, but that's what we all want. That's why we do want names. You know, it's that part of us, very natural. And he's saying the only way to get like a completely effortlessly organized silverware drawer is through practicing and observing patterns. And you cannot observe patterns without taking notes. Because if you think at our age, any one of us at our age can rely on memory to keep things straight. Like, oh, this being comes in like this. I'll remember that. He said, sorry, ladies. This is too expansive a journey. And to have that kind of clarity, you need time, practice, patience, and note-taking patterns. The other thing I'll add here, he's telling me, is you'll never have an organized silverware drawer. Ever. You can have a baseline that's pretty good. But due to the nature of our continual expansion, it is just a matter of time before the next new experience comes and you're like, what's this? Like, I remember the first time a collective came through and I was like, what? I was on camera doing a live and I was like, what the hell is going on? It felt like this 8,000 stampeding stallions all at once, like in the form of a comforter, go over. Like, it's just the craziest thing. I had no idea. Like, what is, well, that was a collective. A couple nights ago, I stood up minding my own business and I time traveled. And I was like, what? I didn't try to. I was aware of my body. I was standing right here. And I was like, oh my God. And I could see all this stuff. And it was weird. I had to, like, if I needed to see something, I had to physically turn my head. And I'm standing here and I'm like looking at this thing. And I'm like, what is this? Oh my God, I was freaking out because it was so rad. It was so crazy, it was unbelievable. Nothing like that. Like, it wasn't astral traveling. I was not astral traveling. I was standing up right here, trapped behind the coffee table. And if you had seen me, I had put my hands like this, because sometimes if you're looking and you make it really dark, you can see stuff better. Like if you're in a movie theater. So you would have seen me standing here, going like this, like, right? Like, I don't even know what that is. I tried to look. That was a new one for me. So yes, you can have an organized silverware drawer. Like I have a what, not physically like in my life, but like in terms of all this stuff, like I have a well-organized silverware drawer. But it can never be organized, and that's the fun of it. Just when you're like, my silverware drawer is organized, the next fun new thing comes and you're like, what the heck is this? And Lao Tzu is actually bringing this forward. Thank you. So like I've got notes going back like 7 years, right? And I get nervous about that. So I'll start a new note every year or so, just so like if one crashes, I don't like lose my whole life, right? But so this is my current note. This is for you, Jill. This is Lao Tzu. And he's saying, at the top of every note, can you see those stars right there?
Well,
Kind of. Well, this is my current note, and here it says running questions. And then there's these stars here. And that portion of running questions stays put up top. And I just keep adding below it. And like I'll transfer over running questions if it's time for a next note and they're still open. And he's saying that's such a huge part of this. And as Susan puts it, I hold everything as a hypothesis. Always. I do have convictions, and I have certain things that I'd be really surprised if they changed. But everything is up for grabs. And like, for example, before I understood Martin Luther King and I, for 2 years, on top of my notes, I had king / crown ? 2 years. And I remember the day I finally thought I had figured it out. And I crossed it off and I typed it finally. I was like, yes, because it was really pissing me off. I just everywhere, just crowns and kings for like 2 years straight. And then I got like a 2-month break and I was like, and then it started again. And I was like, no effing way. You are joking me. And then like maybe 6 months after that is when I re-met Martin Luther King. And guess what? I have like not seen a crown since. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, so even sometimes when I think I've got it, like, oh, I think I've got that one, I'll be like, oh my God, no, that was so wrong. That was, you know. So these questions, the deeper you get into this practice, you're going to notice you're running questions. They could go years, because the deeper you get into this, the less linear your entire experience. I've got crystal clear data recorded that I still don't even have a slight clue about. Because chronologically, as Susan Dyer, it's not yet. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, I get that.
So even for the stuff that you think you know, as we explore, I like to keep an image of somebody grabbing a fistful of sand versus somebody scooping. You can get so much more if you leave your hand open. You can get like a whole pile versus, I want some of that sand. And then you've got sand, but if you compare, this is barely any sand. And that's my metaphor for locking in on stuff that's like multidimensional. Do you know what I mean? Because our lens through which we experience is evolving every second. And the level of sophistication also evolves with your practice. Like, your guides are not going to skip you so far into something that it scares the daylights out of you. You know, so, I mean, unless that's your story. Like for me, like being afraid in that manner was a purposeful part of my story. But for for you guys developing as we're doing this together, the intention is love and not to startle you or make you afraid, or you know, so just expect it to be like a gentle process that deepens and expands. I think that's the best way to put it. And now you guys, my voice is about to go actually, which is my, that's how my guides do it. That's the way they take a cane and they're like, you're done. I'm about to not be able to talk. So I'm going to take that as my cue actually. And Sandy and Morgan, if you guys have any questions, please just message me in the Patreon message thing. And I'll be all over it, but I'm about to not be able to talk anymore. So I would love to take your questions. And you can just send me a little note and I can, you know, that'd be perfect. So I love you guys. Thank you for being here. This was such a, I think, very meaningful class. And my son Wesley is gonna make me replay this whole thing. He was so excited. So I hope you enjoyed that part that he really wanted to give it to you. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.